Matt Rochinski and Chris Kroger sit down with head coach James Borrego to talk about his team's renewed emphasis on defense, the recent injuries to his team, the play of his young players, and the road trip ahead. This is the Hornets.com Coaches Show.
Welcome to the Hornets.com Coaches Show. I'm Matt Rochinski, joined by Chris Kroger. Chris, great win. Happy New Year. We got a great win to ring in the new year. Every Hornets fan left here excited, was able to go out and celebrate last night. Yep. We were able to celebrate. How you feeling on New Year's Day?
I'm feeling good. We call that a quality of life game last night. You win that game, you're able to enjoy New Year's Eve. Otherwise, your late dinner or maybe those celebration drinks as you ring in the new year, they don't quite go down as easy. So that was a quality of life game. And I thought Malik Monk, 20-year-old Malik Monk, offered some great words of wisdom after the game on our TV broadcast, and he said, the way you end 2018 is how you start 2019. So the Hornets did it with balance and some defense.
So do you have great expectations heading into 2019 right now, the way this team is just closed?
I do. I think we keep talking about this Hornets team and, okay, who are they? What's their identity? And truthfully, I think they're still honing in on that. And I think the teams that find their identity and find a way to play and a consistent style of play, it's hard to do in this league. And the teams that do it the fastest are the ones that are obviously going to go rack up 50-plus wins. And not every team can be that. Steve Clifford, Orlando Magic head coach, was saying that last night after the game. He said consistency is the name of the game in the NBA. Everybody's trying to find it. And the Hornets, I think, are honing in on it. They're in that area where, maybe they tap on it for 2 or 3 games out of a 4 or 5 game stretch. But can they start to do it more consistently than that? But all that being said, you're sitting at 18-18 overall. At this point a year ago, you were 10 games under 500. And not only that, the Hornets are at 500 for the 17th time at 18-18. That's only possible 18 times, and they've done it 17 times. So I know we would all love a winning streak, but there is a real resiliency to this team. They got a pretty short memory.
Yeah, I was going to say, this team has become really good at being average, but if the other side of it is having 10 less wins than we had last year, I'm going to take this right now and know that we're going to get this figured out.
Well, and again, that's where the silver lining comes in, because I think, the opposite is true too, is, okay, you want consistency, but you can also really dig yourself a hole that you can't climb out of. And unfortunately, the Hornets did that last year. That's why they wound up 10 games under 500, 36 and 46. They would put together some stretches of games, but when you put yourself in a whole 10 games under 500 going into a new year, which is what happened last year, it's just really hard to climb out of it in this league, because other teams are trying to climb out of some of those same holes or rack up wins. So the Hornets, I think, are in a pretty good spot going into 2019.
So you mentioned that this team is starting to establish who they are and maybe get that identity. Maybe surprising to some folks, especially the way we talked at the beginning of the season, is that identity might be on the defensive end of the court, because we're looking at some defensive numbers that are showing that, hey, this team, when it plays defense, is really locked in.
Well, the Hornets have the 8th best offense in the NBA. Okay, so when you start with that, they've got an elite level offense. When you play consistent defense, you're going to be virtually impossible to beat. And we've seen that this year. And 17 times on the year, the Hornets have held an opponent to 110 or less, which is a pretty good number. In today's NBA, even with scoring up, 110 or less is still a pretty healthy number for defense. They're 15-2 in those games. It's almost impossible to beat the Hornets when they hold an opponent less than 110, because they're going to hit 115 or 120 along the way, because also that works both ways. If you're getting stops on the defensive end, it's leading to runouts, transition buckets. You're probably going to get some more fouls called because the other team's chasing you from behind too, literally and figuratively in the game. So you look at that number, 105 or less, the Hornets are 9-1. 100 or less, they're unbeaten. They're sitting at 7-0.
What makes it so difficult in the league to hold an opponent to under 100 points these days?
Well, I think the new rules, we got to recognize that. We've seen it this year, these freedom of movement calls in the NBA. The NBA on both ends, offense and defense, wants freedom. They want guys to be able to run off of screens and cut and flash open, and you can't clutch, you can't grab. You used to be able to do all those things. That stuff's off the table. So any tugging of the jersey, maybe that old wraparound you used to get around the hip, can't do that. And so it's opened up the game. I think it's had a desirable effect. And if you ask fans, what do they want? They want scoring, right? And so I think because of that, it's hard to defend consistently in the NBA. But if you can do it, and it starts with basically containing the basketball. I'll go back to Saturday against the Wizards. Hornets gave up 130. Washington didn't do anything fancy. They beat the Hornets off the dribble. And when the Hornets tried to help and recover, guess what? You leave another man open. And it's just making the extra pass. So the Hornets, if you start with just guarding your man, I know that seems really simple. Defend the basketball, contain the ball. You're going to put yourself in a good spot defensively.
Well, I think it's funny. You said fans want to see the offense. Coaches want to
see the defense, yeah.
But if fans start seeing the defense and it brings wins, I think fans are going to be just fine with a defensive basketball.
Well, and remember, let's go all the way back to the start of the season, what did Coach Borrego say he thought this team could be? Top 10 in offense and defense. And so we're starting to see if the Hornets get to that mark, I think they can really be a lethal team. And normally, if you're top 10 in offense and defense, that's a team that's a playoff team and probably advancing in the playoffs. That's the mark of a championship caliber squad.
All right, well, we'll hear it from the horse's mouth. We're going to be back with Coach James Borrego to talk defense right after this break.
Hey, Hugo, before we do this job swap, can you show me how this half-court shot thing goes? I'm not the most experienced with basketball. Yeah? Okay, great. Okay. All right, so I bend my knees. Oh, arms up. Oh, I'm glad I didn't ask you to show me how to dunk. How do I get down?
Welcome back to the Hornets.com Coaches Show. We're being joined now by head coach James Borrego. Coach, first off, Happy New Year. It is January 1st. We're all here. Did you have a good New Year's? Obviously with the win.
Well, the win helped. That was a Q of L, as we say it.
Quality of
life win right there. So that made that dinner much better. The food tasted much better after that win. Was
it nice to start off heading into 2019 with a win, getting a win that way as this team gets ready to head out on the road here soon?
Yeah, I think, those wins obviously can boost you, and you don't want to spiral down. A loss could have really set us back there, but I think we bounced back. This group's been resilient, no matter what, whether it's, first of the year or whatever. This group has bounced back after losses and has responded. So I think we did that last night. Great effort from start to finish. Good win, against a team that's playing well. Kind of propels us here into that last home game before we hit the road.
I thought Malik, 20-year-old Malik, with words of wisdom after the game on TV, he said, how you end 2018, hey, you got to be careful. No, true words of wisdom. Maybe he stole them from you pregame. He said, how you end 2018 is how you start 2019. You guys did it with your defense. You held them to 24 points or less, the Magic, in 3 or 4 quarters. And I know you keep harping on the defense, but it's the key to unlocking this team, I believe, because it's wild to think this, but when you hold a team to 110 or less, you're 15-2 on the year. And you're 7-0 when it's 100 or less. It's 9-1 at 105 or less. So that tells me the way your offense is clicking right now. You guys are a top third of the NBA type of defense. You're virtually unbeatable. You can be an elite team in this league.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it takes a lot of effort for us to get there, and I think we're learning and we're growing. As I keep saying, we don't have one guy protecting us here. It's a number of bodies, and you have to have all these 5 guys on the floor really buying in and swarming and having great effort and intensity. And I think we had that last night at Washington. We weren't all quite there. Maybe 3 out of 5 were going, 4 out of 5. But one guy was falling asleep, and we just can't have that. But as a group, when we defend, we're targeting that 27 points a quarter, somewhere in that range. If we can do that, to your point, that's a very significant number for us record-wise. So I think we're scoring enough points. Our offense is, for the most part, up there as one of the top 10 in the league right now, and we got to keep that going. But we can't rely on that every single night, especially on the road. You got to dig in and get stops on the road, be more consistent defensively.
You talked about consistency last time on the show, and it was about establishing the identity, and you were saying we're not really sure exactly what our identity is. In the first 29 games, we held 3 opponents under 100 points. In the last 7, we've held 4 opponents under 100 points. Was there that aha moment for these guys when they realized, wait, coach is right, we really got to start locking in on defense?
Well, I think so. I mean, we've talked about it all season, but I think, until you're smacked in the face a few times and you're losing some significant games by giving up 120, 130 points, at some point, enough's enough. And I think as a group, we got to that point, and as a coach, you can only preach it so much. The players have to take ownership of it, and that's what I've tried to preach over and over, and bring some accountability to it and shrink the rotation to waken some of those guys back to life defensively. And I think that's our job as coaches, try to spear sort of this movement to defend and bring it every single night on that end of the floor. But I'd say, I think probably after that Laker game, I think we started to really, look at the defense, really take accountability and own our defense, and I think we've established ourselves a little bit more since. We've had a couple where we haven't, but that's going to happen in the NBA. You're not going to be perfect. So I just expect our guys, when we do have one of those clunkers, that we always respond, and I think we did that the other night. We did it against Detroit. We did it against Cleveland. We've done it a number of times recently, and we got to continue that.
So Devontae has been a big piece of that, actually. As a rookie, he's come in, he defends his position well. And I want to talk about, not specifically him, although he's played really well. He's been in double digits the last 2 games he's played, but he went to Greensboro, played in a game on Thursday, then finished a back-to-back Friday, Saturday, played 3 and 4 nights by finishing out the game on Monday. And this is why you guys do what you do with the Swarm. There's something to be said for sending Dwayne and Devontae and players up to Greensboro, being in a rhythm when you're not getting those rotational minutes here, getting your body in a flow. And I think we're seeing that immediate impact right now with Devontae.
No question. I mean, there's nothing like playing, significant minutes, 30-plus minutes in a professional basketball game, especially in in a situation where you're running the same system. It's not like they're going to Greensboro and they have to learn a whole new terminology, new system. They're mirroring what we're doing here, so they're going there. It's like they're just practicing again, all over with a new team and getting significant minutes out there. So I thought it's been very valuable for Devontae. Every time he comes back, he gets better. And I've seen this happen in years past, with the team I've been with. When guys have gone down there for significant minutes, they've always come back better, more confident, more ready, and I think we've seen that there. And I expect the same for Dwayne right now. I'm excited for him. He's excited to be down there playing. Get me off this bench. Let me go play some minutes. Forget all this shoot around stuff and 5-on-0 stuff. Let me go play some minutes. And these guys just come back better. So, and I'm really proud of the Swarm group and that staff. They're keeping us informed on what's going on with these young guys, and so it's a big step in their development.
You say they come back better, but it also seems like they definitely come back hungrier, and that's going to be very important right now. Obviously, last night, lost 2 starters, lost Cody, lost Jeremy. What is the expectation for how you're going to fill those vacancies right now?
Well, we got, trying to take one at a time, try to figure out Lamb, where he's at, see where, if he's got to miss some time here. Obviously, missing 2 starters is significant. It's hard enough when you lose 1 starter. We're down 2 in 1 game. And our guys just have to step up. I mean, we have capable bodies, and, I'll speak about the Cody one first. If you look at our roster, we're pretty heavy at that spot. We got guys that can step right into that role in Billy, and Frank, and Biz. We played Marvin at significant minutes at the 5 spot. We got MKG and Miles that can downsize and play at that 4 spot. So we definitely have options there. We're gonna miss Cody at a very high level. He does so much for us, more than I think people realize. I think his teammates recognize that. And I think you've looked at his, the Hornets record over the years when Cody's missed games. It's not been good. But it's a new season for us. Next guy is going to step up. I believe our guys will, and we have more than enough bodies to do that. The Lamb thing's interesting. We can go a number of ways. I think Devontae stepped into that role last night as the starter. I think our guys feel very comfortable with him out there on the floor. He's a guy that can defend, that can score. He feels like a secondary point guard out there, with Kemba. I think I felt that last night during the game, just a guy that could play make, we can run stuff through. It's almost like the combination we've seen of Parker and Kemba on the floor together in the 4th quarters. I think we have that same thing with Devontae out there with Kemba. So, and then Monk's, I think, growing right before our eyes. He's playing very well, in recent games. He's a guy that can step into that role. We could play Tony and Kemba together. We have the ability to go to Nico now in that position to replace Lamb, and now bring Miles back to that 3 spot. So we have some variety there. But the bottom line is guys just have to step up. No matter the 2, the 3, if your number's called, step up. And our guys are more than capable of doing that.
I was trying to keep up with all the options there. We got so many combinations. Coaches aren't
confused. Who do I play?
We had Dutch on our pregame show the other day, and we asked him about you as an assistant coach versus you as a head coach, and he said the biggest change from assistant to head coach is assistant coach, you're just giving idedes. Yeah. The head coach has to make all the decisions.
Well, the tricky part is when you got to split second to make a decision. A player's got foul trouble, and you got to pick a.
You're up.
You got to make a call.
Yeah.
So, but our staff does a great job helping prepare me for what's coming ahead during the game. And a lot of the scenarios we're talking about now, we talked through before the game. So it allows us in the heat of battle to know our one or two options that we want to go to. So I give our staff a lot of credit for that.
Well, and then we'll see this team not only close out this homestand, these 2 games at home. We'll see Dallas on Wednesday, and then it's onto the road. And as you know, it's been one road win almost in 2 months. You go back to November 11th, you beat the Pistons, then you beat New York in December. But you look at how you guys have played. You've been in a lot of these road games. It's not as if you guys have gone on the road and just fallen to pieces. You just have not been able to put it together. But it's got to happen now. And I do think it probably starts with the defense as you start this season-long road trip.
I think so. I think the games that we've really, you look at the New York win, Detroit win, it starts with our defense. You can't go on the road and give up 30-point quarters. You just can't. Now, that's easier said than done, but you really have to have a pride about yourself defensively on the road. And we've been in this, a number of these games. We've been right there, fourth quarter, having opportunities. We gave one away in Brooklyn. We were right there in the Washington game down to the stretch. Now we just got to go and close them out. But, throughout the game, we just got to do a better job defending.
It doesn't hurt either to have that guy, Kemba Walker, who's been elevating his game again. Started All-Star voting on December 25th. Is it nice to see Kemba?
Did you vote for him yet?
Like every day. Hopefully you're voting.
Once a day per device, okay? Right. So if you got a tablet,
my
phone,
kids' job, that's their job.
Yeah.
So,
perfect. Okay. We've got that same setup at my house.
Right.
5 of the girls are voting every day as many times as they possibly can on whatever devices are possible. But how much does that help when Kemba starts elevating his game to that level again?
Well, he's special. I mean, what we've seen throughout the season, I think he had a little spell there where, that ball wasn't going through the hoop as much, but he stayed consistent. He stayed consistent through this entire time. Obviously, it changes our game when he can score at this level. Obviously, our offense takes off and it becomes more dynamic. We are tougher to guard when he's able to score, really stretch the defense, but made a lot of great plays last night. I think just trusting his teammates, moving the ball. 29 assists last night really stood out to me. And it wasn't just Kemba scoring out there. He was driving a lot of the drive and kick. When teams are going to, bring attention to him, he trusts the next guy to make the right play, and it's just contagious. I think our guys started to move the ball last night, and he's in a good rhythm. I think we're in a good rhythm offensively, and I expect that to continue.
And Malik was one of those guys, too. I thought Malik played a similar game last night, got downhill, was setting up his teammates. It's amazing how the ball comes back to you when you do that, and he knocked in a lot of those shots, too. But I thought Malik, from both ends of the court, played one of the most complete games of his career, and you've had him now for 36 games. I wonder what you thought of Malik's performance last night.
Yeah, I really like him the last, week to 2 weeks. We didn't sit him down, but he was out of the rotation for a split second there, and I think he just really responded the right way. He's been very mature about it. He's hungry. He wants to get better. He understands where he's at, with this team. He understands he has to defend. We're asking him to defend. We're demanding that he defend, and he's responded. I do think he's becoming more of a complete player, and I think last night was a great example of that. I think our home game before that, Brooklyn and a few others, he's really taking pride on the defensive end. And then making plays for others is just another step for his growth. Last night we just showed our guys film, and he made a number of plays for his teammates. To Billy, the kick to Marv, in transition, I saw a more mature Malik out there. You add that with Tony Parker, with Kemba Walker, Devontae, Jay Lamb, and Nico, that's a pretty dynamic, versatile group that can make plays for not only themselves, but for others.
Yeah, obviously things are setting up well for 2019. Got any New Year's resolutions as we head into the new year, Coach?
None, zero.
Are you a resolution? See, can I get on my soapbox for a second?
Okay.
Well, you have one?
Do we have a choice?
No, yeah, we're going to do it anyway. I'm not a big resolutions guy.
What is that? Yeah,
because I feel
that?
like, you should be able to, personally, just set yourself to those standards all year long. And I'm not saying it, if you make a resolution, that's fine. But I feel like it's a bit of a crutch sometimes. So I'm just saying, take the resolution mindset and let's span that over 365 days. You get what I'm saying?
Sounds good. Okay. I'm in. I like it.
Right,
I like it. Let's go.
There we go.
Let's go.
That's the Kroger campaign right there.
Like
resolutions all year round.
Resolutions out.
Yeah.
Just do it 365.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Well, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thanks.
We'll catch up with you again soon. We'll be right back on the Hornets.com Coaches Show. back to the Hornets.com Coaches Show. I'm Matt Rochinski, joined by Chris Kroger. Just had a chance to talk with Coach, but now we're dealing with these injuries, Chris. What is going to be the solution, you think? Obviously, with Cody out probably long-term and Jeremy Lamb nursing the hamstring, what is the solution for the Hornets?
Well, I think this is the benefit, perhaps, of what we've seen with the rotations for Coach, where everybody has been wondering what goes on, what goes into your head when you choose who's going to play, who's not going to play. And everybody has to stay ready, and there's that expectation. And so you stay ready for moments like this, because you don't wish injury on anybody, but an 82-game schedule, injuries happen, and that's the reality of the NBA. And so I think guys will have an expectation of being ready, because you prepare to be ready every night. Bismack Biyombo, Frank Kaminsky are two guys we see night in and night out prepare to be ready. I wouldn't be shocked, and he can't do this exclusively, but I wouldn't be shocked if we see more of Marvin Williams at center. Hornets have played Marv at center a lot. He's been really good in those minutes because he's athletic. He's just naturally tough. He competes for those 50-50 balls and rebounds, and the way he spaces the floor as a big, because he can step out and shoot, is a handful. It creates a mismatch. So I wouldn't be shocked by that, but I think these are the things you do as a coach that you'd say, you know what, I'm doing this because philosophically I believe it's the right way to do it, and then down the road it pays some dividends. And so I think everybody's going to have to stay ready. Already, and this number is only going to continue to grow, 250-plus lineup combinations for James Borrego's Hornets thus far. 250.
That's just crazy to think that he's got to do that. So how does this change things up? Obviously, when you lose two starters and you get these guys coming in off the bench, does that help that we were running those 10, 11-man rotations early in the year?
No, I think it does. And look at Devontae, right? We saw Devontae in that win over the Magic play with Kemba. Now, we've seen Tony and Kemba play a lot. We've seen the three of them play at times when you need to, bust that zone defense teams have been putting out against the Hornets. So I think Devontae, because of his build, he's just a naturally bigger guard. He's shorter, though, at 6'2", but I think he can defend multiple positions out there. In the backcourt, at least, he can hold his own. He competes. I wouldn't be shocked if you see more of that, if you see Kemba and Devontae, Kemba and Tony, Devontae and Tony. We've seen those guys out there as well. And, will we see a Dwayne Bacon get recalled again from Greensboro? I think that's possible. All that stuff's on the table. But, yeah, I think the Hornets have some versatility that maybe they haven't had in years past, which is why I wouldn't press the panic button. I think everything's going to be okay.
You mentioned Devontae matching up against people. All I can think back of is when he had to switch off against Cleveland, and all of a sudden he's guarding LeBron James, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be horrible. Didn't do a bad job, so the guy's got it.
And can I give Devontae some credit for a little bit, because we had a back-to-back Friday, Saturday, and the Hornets went 1-1 on the back-to-back. But it was a back-to-back-to-back for Devontae, because he played in Greensboro on Thursday, Charlotte on Friday, went with us to D.C. on Saturday to play the Wizards, and so the Hornets just wrapped up 3 and 4 days. Well, for Devontae, he's saying, what are you guys complaining about? I played 4 and 5 nights. You don't even do that in the NBA anymore. That's not on the schedule. Right. And Devontae just did it as a rookie.
Yeah, he's a rookie. He can handle it.
Yeah, he's fine.
No problem. So we got the big win last night. New Year's starting. We're thinking, okay, road trip coming up, but we still got one more home game before we head out on the road with the surprising Dallas Mavericks in town. What's been so good about them this season?
Well, they're unstoppable at home, and they are just like the Hornets. They've had some road issues, and they're 2-16 on the road. They fell to OKC. They played a back-to-back, and they beat OKC at home on Sunday. Went and played them in OKC on Monday night, and it didn't go so well. They got down early by 17 in the opening quarter, never found a way to get back into it. And they're a team that, when they're rolling, but they have a propensity to turn the basketball over. They had over 30 turnovers, 29, which led, I believe, to 35 points off those against OKC. So they can turn the basketball over. Luka Doncic, we've all seen the highlights. He's the real deal. And right now, he's the front runner, and even by a pretty wide margin, I think, to be Rookie of the Year in the NBA. But he has a propensity to maybe make too much of a play, right? He wants to make that highlight reel play. I think if you can settle in, again, with the defense for the Hornets, get some turnovers. We saw it against Orlando in the second half on Monday. I think that can be the difference. But they are a handful. DeAndre Jordan, I think, is going to be an X factor in this game, too, because you're going to see the Hornets without Cody Zeller. Who's out there against him, right? And he's physical. He can get after it on the offensive glass, and the Hornets got to limit those second chance opportunities.
How important is it early to get on top of the Mavericks to kind of establish the tone of how you want to play, so you're not playing their style?
Yeah, I think it's huge. And the other thing I think, too, you want to do with Dallas is don't let let them get hot from beyond the three-point line because they're a streaky three-point shooting team. They're not great at shooting the three ball, but they'll take them. And guys like Wes Matthews and Harrison Barnes. Harrison had a career-high 7 the other night on Monday against OKC. He had half of their three-point shots individually. They had 14 in the game. He had half of them. So I think you really got to be keyed in on the three-point shooting. And it's just like any team, right? You let them get comfortable and dictate the game at their pace, which is what happened Saturday on the road against the Wizards. You're chasing your tail, and you don't want to do that. You want to be the aggressors.
Well, hopefully we have a good turnout on Wednesday night against the Dallas Mavericks. It's going to be our first Pride night, so make sure you get out here, fans. It's going to be a great night as we send this team off on the road. Big road trip coming up. 6 games, 11 days, West Coast.
Yeah.
See you later, Chris. I'll talk to you in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's funny is everybody keeps saying, I'm a rookie here, and everybody keeps saying, hey, how's the traveling in the NBA going? I'm saying, it's been pretty well, but we really haven't been on the road that much. We had a 7-day, 4-game road trip right out of the gates after our home opener, our season opener back in November. And really, that's been the longest road trip we've been on to this point. We've been very, very lucky to be at home through the holidays in November and December, but business really starts to pick up. And this is the thing the Hornets need to change. We could talk about the offense. We could talk about the defense. They've got to find a way to play consistently on the road. If you can go anywhere near 500 on the road, you're going to be a great team. And look at the Hornets now, 14-7 at home on the year. They won 21 home games all of last year. So the home schedule, they've really got back to playing great at home. On the road, it's been a bit of a bugaboo. They started 2-0. They swept a back-to-back. Orlando, Miami started 3-4 on the road. Since that point, just 1 road win over the last 2 months, essentially. You'd have to go back to November 11th, the last time the Hornets won on the road outside of that win against the Knicks back in early December.
What do you have to do to start establishing some consistency on the road? Is there a different way to play?
No, I think it's the defense. That's what's funny is the defense is a big part of this in terms of defense travels. I know that's a cliche. It's a coaching cliche, but I think it's a cliche because it's true. Your shot's not always going to fall. You know what your shot's going to look like in this building because you play here all the time. You practice here a lot. You go into a variety of other buildings. The lighting's different. The backdrop's different. Some arenas have a big lower bowl. Some don't. Some have a bright backdrop. Some are dark. And when that messes with shooting, your shooting's going to come and go. You can dictate your defense, and your defense is started with your urgency and your attention to detail. So the Hornets got to take pride in that.
Obviously a big road trip coming up, but then we come home for a couple games, and on January 19th, it's Glenn Rice night. I know I'm looking forward to it. We saw him here for the 30th anniversary team. Glenn's just got an amazing amount of energy. I know he's excited about this.
And I just firmly believe that Glenn, and this is hard to say for the only 3-time All-Star, except maybe for Kemba, who's coming up, by the way. Vote, NBA.com/vote, okay? NBA.com/vote. Vote for Kemba, the NBA app. Use Google. You could search NBA All-Star or Kemba's name. You could use Google Assistant, too. And all you got to say is, hey, Google, NBA All-Star, and it'll take care of that. So anyway, Glenn, to this point, the only three-time All-Star in Hornets history, I think he's become, and this is crazy to me, one of the most underrated players in our franchise's history. He was an All-Star Game MVP in '97, and not only that, he still holds the NBA All-Star record for the most points in a quarter, and he did it off the bench. So, and Michael Jordan was on that All-Star team too. So, no big deal for Glenn. So I'm excited about this because I think some of the younger Hornets fans have really forgotten that era of Hornets hardball, of Del Curry, Glenn Rice, Anthony Mason, Vlade Divac. That team was fun, and I shouldn't forget David Wesley either. You think this Hornets team could score? Man, turn on the highlights of that Hornets team.
All right, well, that leaves our fans 2 things to do. Number 1, go get your tickets. We've got to get your tickets for January 19th against the Phoenix Sun. It's Glenn Rice night. And make sure you hop on Vote for Kemba Walker. Vote now. Vote, vote, vote. We can't say it enough. For head coach James Borrego, for Chris Kroger, for the All-Star Kemba Walker, I'm Matt Roczynski for Hornets.com.